Welcome back to Fantasy Football Today. I'm Jamie, that's Dave, that's Heath. We're talking about the starts that you need for Week 14. Big week. Next week, the playoffs start in the majority of fantasy leagues, so make sure you got the guys in your lineup that are produce the most points. And the guy that I'm very excited about for this week, the start of the week, is DeAndre Swift, coming off a very big game last week against the Jaguars. Played 51% of the snaps, his most work since Week 1. And he delivered over 100 total yards and a touchdown, looking like the DeAndre Swift we expected to see all season long. Now, he joined us on Fantasy Football Today earlier this week and said the ankle feels good, the shoulder feels good. He feels like he could handle this type of workload again, and it's a great matchup against the Vikings. They've been bad against opposing running backs of late. In their last 4 games, 5 guys have gone over 16 PPR points. 6 touchdowns from those 5 guys. 4 of them over 100 total yards, including the great, the wonderful Bam Knight last week for the Jets. So DeAndre Swift in a great spot. Jamal Williams will still get his touchdown, don't worry. He's got 14 on the season, he'll get 15. But I think this is going to be a big game for DeAndre Swift. So Heath, you are the low guy. I mean, I can't believe you only have him at 10. What are you doing?
You know, I had him at 9, but then he was questionable on the Wednesday injury report, and so I knocked him down to 10. As long as he gets in a full practice by Thursday or Friday, I'll get him back up to 9 where he belongs. As long as he's okay, that's the only concern. He's awesome. Give him 15-plus touches. He'll be a top 10 running back the rest of the season.
But you look at how he's played, and especially last week, you've got to be encouraging. The playing time went up, and the catches went up, the touches went up, everything was great. And this Vikings defense, they changed it up a little bit last week on the Jets, but for the most part, they've played a lot of zone coverage, and that allows running backs to catch passes underneath. The Lions are going to be smart about this. They could give him as many as 6-7 grabs in the game. I think Swift goes off. I like him a lot this week as the #1 runner.
Should be a good opportunity for him, hopefully, again, that he is fully healthy. He did show up on the injury report on Wednesday, but like he said, when he talked to us, he should be fine. All right, starts for me for this week. You got Geno Smith, keep it rolling. One more game against the Panthers. Like I said earlier in the show, he should be throwing a lot. Miles Sanders, this could be a 2 or 3 touchdown game as long as the great Boston Scott does not ruin him, because Scott just destroys the Giants, as we see all the time. Rashad White, Marquise Brown, Adam Thielen, we'll talk about those guys right now. So we'll start with Rashad White, because the brutal matchup against the 49ers. Their run defense is awesome, but I think what we're going to see for him and Leonard Fournette is the work in the passing game. That's what matters here. You had Fournette with 6 catches, 32 yards on 7 targets. White, 6 catches, 41 yards and a touchdown on 8 targets. Do not love them as much in non and half PPR, but in full PPR, Brady throwing the ball probably 50-plus times. I think he's going to lean on these guys, and their role in the passing game should be pretty significant. For Marquise Brown, you got him coming off the game 2 weeks ago prior to their bye, where he was back to looking somewhat like Marquise Brown. 6 catches, the targets were there, 10 targets. And now you're going to see the second full game, but hopefully more practice time with DeAndre Hopkins. We'll see if Rondale Moore is able to play, but probably throwing a lot against the Patriots. I like the setup for Marquise Brown as #2 receiver. Then we get to Adam Thielen, who you do not like, Dave. You have him as a sit. Keith, you like Kirk Cousins, so we're going to just transition right into the passing game here. I think this is going to be one of the best games, if not the best game of the week. The over-under is projected for, you said 52. I saw 53 yesterday, so it's in the low 50s, which we love. And Adam Thielen should see a lot of targets because the run game probably going to struggle against a good run defense for the Lions. So I like the setup here for Adam Thielen because he's going to get probably 8 targets. Every time he's got 8 targets, 15 or more PPR points. So, Dave, what's your concern about Adam Thielen?
He's not that short area target, that safety blanket for Kirk Cousins anymore. That's been going to T.J. Hockenson, and they've changed Thielen's role. They're using him further downfield, and you might think that that's a great thing, but he can't separate like he used to from coverage on those routes. He's just not as fast as a wide receiver, so it brings more volatility to it. In the last 3 weeks, the Lions have actually been better against wide receivers. They're holding them to a 62% catch rate. That's 9th lowest in football. Less than 13 yards per catch. It's about league average. 3.94 yards after catch per reception. That's better than league average. I don't think it's a slam dunk for Thielen. You're going to need him to score in order for him to come through as a #2 wide receiver.
And he did in their earlier matchup, 6 for 61 and a touchdown, so I'm expecting another.
That was his 3rd career touchdown against the Lions.
Yeah, but Kirk Cousins lights them up, and so I think Kirk Cousins is going to light them up, and I think all 3 guys, Hockenson, Jefferson, and Thielen, are definitely in play in what should be a high-scoring game. So talk about Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I think that with Kirk Cousins, you look at what he's done against the Lions over his career, and it's remarkable. You just don't care about the recent struggles he's had. The weird thing is that T.J. Hawkinson's had this negative impact on Adam Thielen. He's almost had a negative impact on Kirk Cousins as well because he's dumped the ball off so many times to him. They're picking up 5 yards per catch when he throws the ball to T.J. Hawkinson. I don't think that will be a problem in this game. The thing I worry about with Adam Thielen is something I like for Kirk Cousins. It's that revenge game narrative for TJ Hawkinson. His first game going back against his old team. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets into the end zone twice. Give one more Justin Jefferson. That's 3 touchdowns for Kirk Cousins.
Certainly could happen. He's averaging 3 touchdowns per game in his last 5 in Detroit, along with 1,637 passing yards in his last 5 games in Detroit with no interceptions. So he loves going back to this venue. All right, Heath, you got 3 Broncos on your start list, which is never exactly an encouraging thing. However, I agree with you. Latavius Murray, Jerry Jeudy, and Greg Dulcich are all in great spots. So let's start with the pass catchers here, because Dave's not as happy or not as positive about Latavius Murray. So Jeudy and Dulcich in good spots based on the opportunities, no Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, I mean, for Dulcich, it's the fact that he's now had another good game, and they've talked about using him as a wide receiver, and there's no Cortland Sutton there, and they used him more downfield. They had an average depth of target over 10 in his most recent game. For Jeudy, it's the fact that anytime he's played 80% of the snaps this year, he's been good. 14.5 PPR fantasy points per game when he's played 80% of the snaps, and that's with Cortland Sutton. He could be even better. I think he could be a top 12 wide receiver this week. Latavius Murray, I think where Dave has him ranked at RB30 is almost exactly what he's been since he joined the Broncos. It's RB28 over that span. We have 6 teams on a bye. 7 of the backs who have scored more points than him since he joined the Broncos aren't even playing this week, and most of those games were with Melvin Gordon. We've seen him with at least 4 catches in 2 of his last 3 games. The Chiefs have given up the 2nd most receptions, the 4th most receiving yards to running backs this season. I think he's a top 15 running back this week.
In those 2 games you're referencing with the 4 catches, it's been 21 total touches. And so it's hard to overlook that with 6 teams on a bye. So what's your concern about him?
He stinks. He's not very fast. If it's not for a fluky 52-yard run, he would have averaged below 3 yards per carry in each of his last 4 games. The catches, I'll grant you, he's done a good job of getting the ball out of the backfield, but he doesn't do anything with them. He's almost like Adam Thielen. I mean, I'd rather start Adam Thielen, don't get me wrong, but he's got to score in order to come through, and this is going to be a game script where Denver's going to be chasing points. And last week we saw Mike Boone come back. He saw playing time. We saw Marlon Mack get a couple of carries. They're going to pick away at Murray. He's going to get 15 carries.
But he's still got 21 touches, though. I mean,
do you get fantasy points for touches, or do you get it for yards and touchdowns?
Well, I mean, the fact, again, I'm going to lean more on the catches here. I'm going to lean on the fact that that's an area that the Chiefs absolutely stink. And they're number 2 in terms of receptions allowed to the position.
Maybe he'll catch 12 passes this week.
Well,
because if he doesn't score, I don't count on him to get a lot of yards.
If he catches, well, I mean, I know just from our conversation earlier this week, you like James Cook better.
I do.
I can't see a situation where James Cook's getting more touches than him, and also an equally tough matchup.
He's
tougher
way
matchup.
more efficient, way more efficient of a player, both as a runner and as a receiver, and I expect his playing time to continue.
I do think his playing time will continue, but it's not going to come close to the touches that Latavius Murray's getting. And so those touches in a game
not all
where they're chasing
touches
points,
are equal, Jamie. Like
but
some
you also
players'
don't
touches
get
are great.
points for efficiency. It's not a yard.
No, but the yards are going to be there. Like you're hoping
9
that Murray
carries for 45 yards,
breaks
and
a long
17 carries
run.
for 45 yards. The same
Yeah, I
number
think
of
Do you
Latavius
know
Murray-
how many runs Murray has this year where for 3 or fewer yards?
I don't care. The fact that he's getting
I
those
hope he has
opportunities.
3 or
league
fewer and scores a touchdown.
Right.
From like the 2 or the 1.
Right. He's outplayed
Doesn't get a
James
ton of
Cook for the majority of time that he's been in Denver by comparison. So I think there's just a better
Start
opportunity
Latavius
here.
Murray. It sounds
I
good.
will be starting Latavius Murray. I'll get more fantasy points from Latavius Murray. All right, let's talk about the starts for you, Dave. You got Jared Goff, who I think is in a great situation. Deontay Foreman we talked about already. Jeff Wilson, Isaiah Pacheco, and Gerald Everett. Let's talk about Goff here. So great matchup. Again, high-scoring affair. He's been very good at home. Will he continue against the Vikings?
He better, because that Vikings defense has been terrible. At least 21 fantasy points to a quarterback in 5 of their past 7 games. And Goff has been a top 12 fantasy quarterback each of the past 2 weeks. He's given you at least 21 fantasy points per game, and he's attempted 35 passes in each of those past 2 games. One of them was a blowout win. So they're throwing a little bit more. DJ Chark's back. Jamie, you talked about that last week. He came through. Jameson Williams is going to see more playing time, and it should be a high-scoring game. And here's the best part about Goff. No interceptions in his last 4 games. He's making better decisions with the football. The offensive line is protecting him, and this is a game he should be able to throw at will against Minnesota.
And I don't really have anything against Jared Goff. I've got Trevor Lawrence, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Jared Goff ranked 10 through 13, and they're all within 1 point in my projection.
Yeah,
I think you
they're
can
in
flip
the
a
same
coin
range.
on those guys. If Lawrence was still limited going into Sunday, I'd move him behind Goff and move Goff in my top 12.
Jeff Wilson is coming off a miserable game against the 49ers, has an unbelievable matchup against the Chargers, but will he be the lead guy over Raheem Mostert?
I think he will, just based on how better he's been than Mostert since he's arrived in Miami, but there's no guarantee of that. But I think there's enough room here for both of them to do well. You saw the Dolphins last week completely avoid running the football. Literally 8 carries between their running backs, all 4 quarters against the 49ers. That means the coaching staff was cognizant of the matchup. They knew that running against the 49ers wasn't going to be any good, and if they were cognizant of that matchup, they'll be cognizant of this matchup because the Chargers' run defense has been terrible. A running back has had at least 10 non-PPR points against the Chargers in 10 of their past 11 games. There's a chance both these guys can get you 10 in non-PPR, and with Wilson getting 2 or 3 catches on top of it, he's a candidate for 15 plus.
I just wonder if Mostert coming back from the injury last week and was the lead guy prior to the trade, that maybe they want to stick with him, who had 7 of those 8 carries. And so that's the only concern. Is I like Wilson better than Mostert too, but I would not be surprised if Mostert is the guy carrying the ball the majority of the game, and then we just get ruined by
Do you
Jeff
like
Wilson.
Latavius better?
I do like Latavius better
Sure.
than this because I think he's getting more work, and I think the matchup is better for him. Let's talk better for him in the passing game.
Right.
Put it that way. So in PPR, let's talk about Isaiah Pacheco, who I think is better than all these guys, taking on the Broncos' run defense, which has certainly been leaky of late. They did a much better job last week, but Pacheco's been fantastic the last 2 weeks.
He had at least 14 carries, at least 80 total yards in each of his past 4 games, a touchdown in each of his past 2 games. And Denver's run defense, yeah, they looked great last week. They took on the Ravens. That's a team that doesn't have a lot of explosiveness. This dude's explosive, and he gets yards after contact as well. So I'm happy to start him in a game where the game script should be favorable for him. He's really only splitting with Jerick McKinnon at this point, and McKinnon occasionally will have some big numbers. I do like him as a number 2 running back this week, someone you could start in non-PPR or in full PPR. I do like him better in non than in full.
Absolutely. Just 3 catches the last 2 games, so would like to see him get a little bit more work in that regard.